Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. I have a question for you. Are we about to see a vast welfare program as a result of all this government intervention, all the stimulus? Are we going to see permanent programs that essentially create socialism in our country? Are we going to see instability in financial markets? Yes, instability in financial markets. And are we going to have a situation where the Federal Reserve, the Bank of America, if you will, is forced to step in to deal with unbelievable inflation? Well, let's listen to comments from the former director of the Congressional Budget Office. This is American Action Forum President Doug Holtz-Eakin. He talked about the financial fallout, the long-term financial implications of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Let's take a look at the first segment with the former director of the Congressional Budget Office, who says that this will cause financial instability as it forces the hand, this meaning the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. He said this will force the hand of the Federal Reserve to step in and deal with runaway inflation. These are very important comments. I'll give you my analysis of the entire discussion towards the end of the video, so make sure you watch the video all the way through to the end. So let's hear from Doug Holtz-Eakin, the former director of the Congressional Budget Office, as he talks about his concerns about financial instability that will force the hand of the Federal Reserve as we watch this $1.9 trillion make its way through our economy. I want to be as clear as I can. I do believe that help should go to those who need it the most, and I do believe that this will help a lot of individuals who need it the most. But here are concerns from a former director of the CBO. Let's roll the tape and hear what he had to say.
Many concerns and questions over where exactly all this stimulus money will be going. Joining me now is former Congressional Budget Office Director Doug Holtz-Eakin. Doug, good to see you. I just think about the $2 trillion in pent-up savings, in excess savings for individuals, that schools will, this money to schools, because 90% of what was allocated last year has not been spent. It will be spent going out as far as, I think, 2028. What is the overall impact of this just massive spending plan?
Well, I think it's important to recognize that prior to this, the Congress, the Republicans and Democrats on a bipartisan basis, had done things that were very well timed. They moved when they had to, that were by and large well designed, and which were appropriately scaled. They were as large as they needed to be for the problem. In some cases, that was quite dramatic. But this is anything but that. This is something that's happening when the economy is already recovering. It's going to recover. We're not in a recession. We don't need stimulus. It's not well designed. You can look at the Christmas tree of political priorities, not a response to the COVID vaccine problem. And it is very, very large. This is $2 trillion. It's going to initially flow into places where there is no particular need, whether it's the schools or the states and localities or some individuals who've not missed a day of work. They're then going to stick it in a savings account. They might get bored and decide to stick it into the stock market. So I think the very first thing you'll see from this will be some real impact on asset prices, commodities, houses, equities. And you worry that the fallout of that is financial instability that forces the Fed's hand. That, to me, is the quickest and initial risk. Further down the line, we're going to see big increase in consumer spending and some pressure on prices there. But I don't think that happens for a little while.
In the next segment, the former CBO director, Doug Holtz-Eakin, who you've been listening to, talks about his concerns about the vast expansion of welfare programs and his concerns about what he calls socialism. He says this is a permanent expansion of government. This is something that the Republicans have used for a long time to sound a warning, if you will, on the problems, the concerns with excess government, wasteful spending, unnecessary bureaucracy, unnecessary regulation. Let's roll the tape and hear from Doug Holtz-Eakin, the former director of the Congressional Budget Office, and listen to his concerns about the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan. Let's roll the tape and watch.
Wall Street Journal today has an op-ed titled "The COVID Welfare State." And if you think of the political motivation of this $2 trillion spending plan on top of the $3 trillion passed last year, it is an expansion of government that could very well be permanent. And so, again, if you're talking about Democrats, control is power. They get into politics for the power. And so how do you ensure that you always have control and power? You create this vast welfare state. And that's really what they're doing. It's the beginning of it in this particular bill.
So again, you've heard many economists say during the course of the past year, look, if we have to borrow some money to fight the virus and to fight the economic fallout of the virus, that's appropriate. That's not what this is. This is in many cases borrowing to set up permanent new programs. Permanent new programs should be paid for. They should be debated on the floor of the House and Senate, paid for with spending cuts or tax increases as the chips may fall. And this is none of that. This is borrowing enormous amounts of money to set up large new welfare, social welfare state programs. And so the social safety net is really expanding here. And that, I think, is an inappropriate thing to do at this point in time.
Now, if you've been watching my channel, you know that I'm a supporter of the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan as long as it helps those who need it the most. I'm not a supporter of money going to those who don't need it. But this is a very complex subject because how do you actually target the stimulus? It's not as easy as it sounds. This is not a black and white situation. There are many gray areas. And now Doug Holtz-Eakin talks about his concerns, which is basically his number one concern is a disincentive for individuals to return back to work. Let's hear Doug Holtz-Eakin talking about the lack of incentive to go back to work. And I want you to hear what he says. And I want to know from you, my community, our Ignition Time community, which by the way is an incredible community. I want to hear from you in the comment section below whether you agree or whether you disagree with his comments. Let me know below. But first, let's hear from the former director of the Congressional Budget Office as he expresses his concerns about the lack of incentive for individuals to return to work with these extended unemployment programs and the $300 a week booster. I have to tell you that I don't agree because I do believe individuals in travel, leisure, entertainment, and hospitality have lost their jobs permanently. I know for many of us, it's not about staying home and collecting unemployment benefits. It's simply about putting food on the table, keeping the lights on, having a roof over your head, and paying rent. But let's hear what Doug had to say. Let's roll the tape and watch.
Yeah, I'm going through the programs, and even the New York Times wrote about it, but it's essentially guaranteed income in the form of the households will now get a fully refundable tax credit for each kid. $3,000 for those up to the age of 17, fully refundable. And so that therein lies, and the earned income tax credit is now applied to people who don't have earnings, who aren't working. That goes against right. That goes against what it's meant to be. It also expands the subsidy for Obamacare, and so you sweeten that subsidy, and it applies to people who it's an incentive for them not to go back to work.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't complicated. We've been concerned about getting the American labor force back into their jobs, and if you continually stack the deck and make not working more generous than working, that's not going to happen. And we're going to be having a conversation 2 years from now about, gee, why didn't all these people come back into the labor force? Why don't we have the jobs that we had even 2 years ago? And it's going to be because of the expansions in the not working part of the financial benefit. We saw it in the unemployment insurance system. Now we're seeing it more broadly.
This is why President Obama and Vice President Biden's economy never grew at even 3% in any calendar year in the 8 years that Obama was in the White House. There was 99 weeks of unemployment benefits at one point, and you had the haves had more and the have-nots had less, and there was a widening income inequality, and it's because of discouraging people from going back to work and inflating asset prices because of the reliance on the Federal Reserve. It just looks like we're doomed to repeat it again, but in an even worse way.
Well, as I said, I find this very disappointing because to date, Republicans and Democrats did the right thing. They responded to the crisis appropriately. I think every American should have been proud of the actions taken in 2020. This gets 2021 off on the wrong foot and raises some real downside risks.
Yeah, spiking gas prices, and people who are on limited income who have to actually commute to work, not happy.
So, are we looking at a vast welfare state, a permanent expansion of government, and are we looking at permanent new programs that will discourage people from going back to work? These are the thoughts of the former director of the Congressional Budget Office. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'm really keen to hear your thoughts. I enjoy engaging with our community, folks. If it was up to me, I would make it rain money for you. Check it out. This is my specialization, making it rain money. But no, jokes aside, my goal is to give you the true news, the accurate news. My goal is to report with honesty wherever the facts might lead us. This channel, the Ignition Time channel, is about the country, it's about the economy, and it's about your money Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Also, if you learned something new, please click the like button. I would really appreciate that. Please subscribe, please enable notifications. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm and it helps out the channel. Also, share this video with a friend or family members. That would be incredible. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you're receiving the help that you need as long as you really need it. And I'm sure most of us really need it. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.